And I'm just waiting for the traffic to allow me to pull out. So I'm on my way back from Taliban, and I've just been sending this story that a friend told me. Actually, it's not a story, it's an account of something that happened to him. I got to explain to you that with running a channel, a blog or vlog, I always find it difficult to think of that as the word vlog. Anyway, running it as we do, I've made a lot of really unusual friends, talented and funny, and they send me lots of stuff which I can enjoy. And I wanted to tell you about one particular friend, Carl. Now, Carl is, sorry, I'm concentrated on the driving and trying to stay alive on a Philippine road as well, so forgive me for a few occasional lapses. Just overtaking a tricycle. So this one particular friend is an extremely funny and interesting guy, interested in many of the things that I'm interested in. He lives in the UK. He is, or was, a coffin maker, and he earned a living, a very good living, as he tells me, as a coffin maker, because they were very highly paid. Now, a coffin maker, it doesn't, they don't, the old coffin makers didn't slap together something made out of MDF or plywood. These were pieces of fine, what my friend calls, let me see, what did he call it? The funeral furniture. So, just one of the many funny things that he says. He made, well, let me tell you his background. He made a very good living as a coffin maker, as a maker of funeral furniture, and sounds almost American, that. And he was paid a high amount of money. Now, as I was about to say, got sidetracked. This is not a carpenter. This is what in the UK we would call a joiner. And a joiner is someone who makes things using fine joints and ways of putting furniture together, and it's all finely made. Well, he was telling me how, because of the high income that he was able to make, he traveled the world as a result of his work as a coffin maker. So my question to him, which opened up this particular avenue of conversation, was, living so close to what we can call the Grim Reaper, did he pick up any of the negative vibes? And his answer was that he was quite used to that anyway, and he learned to take with it whatever it gave, without it affecting him adversely. Now, one of the things that most people might find macabre, a little unusual, is that he has made his own coffin. I love the way that the British produce what in any other world may be regarded as an eccentric. This is an incredibly talented man. He sends me so much that makes my day, because he is a connoisseur of collecting, and collecting all kinds of what becomes memorabilia of times gone by. Now, there used to be a man called Jack Hargreaves in the UK. Jack Hargreaves apparently was quite a wealthy man. He owned part of the TV company that he made his television program on, and it was, let me see, what was it called? Jack Hargreaves. Oh gosh, I do forget things, there's no doubt. But Jack Hargreaves did down, I think maybe it was called Down Your Way, and it used to have a very nice piece of classical music played on the classical guitar, and he used to do things about the country, and the country always had, he would find things like a barn which had not been opened for 35 years, and then he would go in and he would look, and the barn, I remember the one that I saw had all kinds of interesting tools and things which showed you the way that life used to be 35 years before that. Well, I'm getting off the subject. Jack Hargreaves is a program or a video on its own. Wonderful, wonderful guy. So our friend Carl reminds me of Jack Hargreaves, and one of the things that he does is he collects stories, pieces, photographs, all kinds of things of the way that life used to be in Britain when we didn't call it Britain, we called it England. And he has sent me, he finds really unusual things, like he'll find a film reel of the way that things used to be in an old town that I would know and maybe you wouldn't, like 1920s Halifax or I don't know, Barnsley or somewhere like that. So he'd find these things, and he always sends them to me. It's only recently that I've been having trouble looking at these things, opening them, because the signal is so lousy where we are. We're really trying to handle that. So often we have to come out to do things. We don't have any power, we don't have any water, but I'm meandering again, aren't I? So anyway, Carl. So Carl told me about one particular time. I'd love to have read this to you, that from his account, but it's a simple story, and it's actually so funny in itself from my perspective. I got to tell you that Carl has made his own coffin, which a lot of people might find bizarre, because he has his own coffin in his living room. And so I'm not laughing at this because it's my joke, it's not. He has his own coffin which he has made, which will be a beautifully made piece of furniture, and he uses it as a table, and he calls it his end table, which is dark, dry British humour. Now, but onto his story. He was delivering a very expensive coffin to a customer, well, not to the customer, but I imagine the place where the customer was at risk finally, and he was delivering it to a place called Whitby, and from where he was, it was a few hours travel. His van broke down and he couldn't fix it, so he had to think of something fast, because he only had a few hours to get this expensive coffin to Whitby, which is where he was where the person was, shall we say, resting. And the van broke down. What is he going to do? So he's got to get the job done. So he takes the coffin out of the van and he carries it to a bus stop where he stands it on end until a bus comes, and then, to the driver's amazement, he carries the coffin onto the bus, and he stands in the bus with the coffin standing on its end. Okay, so it's not wrapped up or anything, of course, because he wasn't expecting this. So he's standing there with the coffin in the bus, and it turns out that the bus is carrying mostly aged customers. So all of the travellers on there are of an extreme age, as Carl says, much older than he is. So yeah, he sits there with the coffin standing on its end, and he listens to the conversations that are going on with all of these elderly people, and they're all about carrying a coffin on a bus. So finally, when he gets to his destination, he goes to the door with the coffin, and he stands there and he addresses the customers on the bus, and he said, all of you old people are soon going to need my services, just like the gentleman in this coffin. And then he gets off the bus and leaves the elderly couple mulling over their fate, I imagine, their fate. So it's just a funny story. He also sends me comedy programs, and the comedy programs are of British comedy. He lives in the UK, so he finds all of these clips of these incredible British comedies, which you may not be familiar with, especially if, as often the case, most of our subscribers watching any of these videos might be from America. But there was a program in America called Only Fools and Horses, and it was a comedy program of these guys, a family, a man and his brother actually, and they are what in the UK Del Boy, we would have called him a spiv, S-P-I-V, a spiv, somebody who is a little bit on the sharp side, doing shady deals. And his brother Rodney is extremely funny. Well, they were out on location on this particular day. Rodney, the character who played Rodney, is telling the story, and he said that they were on location and it was pouring down, so they had these huge umbrellas and they were standing there in the centre of London, and they were waiting for the rain to stop. And this is with all of the crew and everything are all standing there huddled under these big umbrellas. Well, a young girl of about 8 years old came and took shelter under the umbrellas with Rodney, and she looked at them all grown men under umbrellas with cameras, and she said to Rodney, "What are you doing?" And Rodney said, "Well, we're making a movie for television." So the girl said, "Oh, really? What's the movie called?" So Rodney said, "Only Fools and Horses." So the girl said, "Ah." And then she looked around at them, all standing there in the rain. And she said, so where's the horses? I'm imagining in my mind that the laughter is thunderous, but I'm in the silence of my truck, which we'll have to do. Okay, so that was the story of Carl, the original story, the one with the coffin, and he has an unusual kind of life which he has led. He, as I said, he earned a great living as a coffin maker, and he has made many unusual coffins, and he sent some clips of other people who make coffins, and the variety of what people want to be buried in is quite astounding. Well, I'm on the road now up to where I live, which is the house, and I should explain that a lot of people wanted me to return to making what I used to call late night meandering or midnight meandering, and wanted me to return to that because I suppose they quite enjoyed my waffling on as I do, and I do. So I will be doing that, but the chances are that it will be in the daylight, and also the chances are that it might be like this in my truck and not necessarily driving along, even though I find that when I'm driving along it does bring up to the surface of my aged memory lots of different things which might be of interest to people who are watching this video. But the video that I've just made now is really about the people that write to me, and I don't give second names, even if the people would not mind. I'm sure that Carl wouldn't care. I asked him if I could share his other story, the story more about his life than about that one incident. And he is an incredibly intelligent, talented man, and his life is very interesting. Well, I will be going into the different lives of the different people. I had an incredible letter which actually I think may have been posted on Facebook, which I don't care. I'm not proud. I'll print something from Facebook. So this other particular friend of mine is Michael, and I like what Michael says because he looks at things in retro and he talks about how things used to be. And it seems that many people think that things have not progressed in many ways. It's like having a spiral, and the spiral goes like this, and it goes up and it goes up and it goes up. But there's another spiral, and the other spiral is going down and down and down. And the one that's going down is the way that things are happening at the moment. We are losing our freedom. We are losing our choices. Do you know that when I post a video or a post on Facebook, I'm not sure quite which one this is. I think it's the ones where I post videos on YouTube, and it will say comments, and it will give the comments. Now, comments has always been something of a controversy on my channel because many people only the, let me It's a four-wheel drive. Going up a bad hill that we never used to get up until we put this strip of concrete down. Well, lots of people, because of something that happened which we still don't know really the reason for, but YouTube in its wisdom, if there is such a thing as YouTube wisdom, they decided that our comments would be disabled. Now, another subscriber has put their finger on what may turn out to be the reason for why, and that is because they started to be concerned because they were coming under fire about child abuse and how people were making nasty comments about children. And so they said that you had to declare whether your videos were for children or not. And very often the work that Beth and I do in our channel, our mission to help, is with children and helping them. So maybe we pressed the wrong button, the wrong choice, and as a result our comments were disabled. We tried over what must have been maybe 18 months or 2 years to have our comments reinstated. They wouldn't do it. They couldn't do it. We actually spoke to people at YouTube, people with a pulse, not artificial intelligence, and they just didn't know how it could be changed. And then, for no apparent reason, after we had gone through months and years of being accused of being afraid to answer our comments, which was quite untrue, our comments were happily I note, were reinstated, and now we can actually receive comments, which we're very, very happy about. Now, as far as nasty comments go, it doesn't matter to us, because they will only enjoy, if that's the word, they'll only enjoy a brief stay on our channel before they get blocked, deleted, removed, blocked, call it what you will. And then that person who made the nasty comment, he doesn't get to post again. So oh boy, this is the bumpy part of this road, and some of these parts of the road are quite difficult because they wend their way through the palm fields. No, it's not palm fields, it's the palm plantation. Actually, you can see why I would call this meandering, because it goes from one subject to another. Right now it's on the subject, very briefly, of looking at these, and you can see them out the back there, that I'm passing these huge palm trees. And the palm trees, whether you know it or not, they give off a fruit, they bear a fruit, and that fruit can be harvested and it can be crushed and made to produce what you will know as palm oil. So that's just a brief aside. Meantime, looking back at what may be the environment for me to make my meandering videos, maybe, as I said, maybe the truck, because after the super typhoon Odette, which, depending on where you are in the world, you may not even know that a super typhoon devastated parts of Bohol. And Bohol is the island, the small island, which we live on. And we live high in the mountains of an area called Burgos. And Burgos, where we are, sorry, this is four-wheel drive, 4x4 driving, and requires a little attention. We've had a huge amount of rain. It doesn't last long, but it is torrential, and it beats down, and it leaves behind it a huge amount of water, which, because it's a kind of a clay substance, it tends to just lie there on the road. So you can never take this road for granted. It's a four-wheel drive, and that's it. But anyway, back to our situation after the super typhoon, and that is that we lost many trees. 10 or 20 coconut trees were lost, and in coming down they produced damage as well. Took a great deal of clearing to get this road so that we could get down over the 2 miles down to the main highway, which in the Philippines is called the National Highway. At the house we no longer have we don't have running water unless the generator is on, so we're storing a lot of water, but it's not so easy to have a bath, all stuff that we take for granted in the West. And this road that I'm on now is quite tricky. But I'm in four-wheel drive, and thanks to the computer, it's a computerized system that controls the suspension on this truck. This truck that I'm driving is a Ford Raptor. For me, a brilliant truck. Absolutely love it. I do a lot of driving because, to tell you the truth, I just love driving this truck. And well, there are a couple of places where, if you're not very careful, you could end up in the rice field. And the rice field is off to my right, and the rice field actually is about 15 feet, maybe 20 feet down, and you wouldn't want to be going roly-poly there. So I'm almost home now, but just to continue, give you a heads up if you do enjoy my meandering, and I want to go into lots of different things. Some of the things may be of interest to you, some may not be of interest. There are people, amazingly, who are not interested in things that I'm interested in. I think it's a little bit like how I don't give a shit about what some other people are interested in. Pardon my French, it's so disgusting. Okay, it's a very narrow bridge. I designed and helped to build this bridge, and the road that we're going up now is very steep, and it needs best to have four-wheel drive. Okay, we're seeing the light. Now I should should end off here, and I'll let you see on another video what we see when we're just coming up. So I'm going to end off here. Thank you for your company. If you stayed with me, you're very brave. Bye for now.